What's going on, Two Knicks Chicks family? Welcome back to another episode of Two Knicks Chicks. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, and I'm back with another one with our co-host today,
Deeper 21. What's good?
Diva Lux. Why do you have such a delay? Like you're a news broadcaster. Why you have a delay?
Yeah,
You
I
can't
may
hear
have to
us?
go, I'm gonna have to go out and come back in.
Can you hear me?
No, let me go out and I'm gonna come back in.
Okay. Diva Lux always has technical difficulties. Gotta love it at the start of the show. But what's going on, everybody? Happy holidays to everybody. I feel like we haven't been on in a while. I've actually been sick. So our last show that we did, I was battling, trying to stay healthy, trying to get through the show with practically sinuses and congestion and all that other jazz. But I'm doing a lot better now. So I'm happy about that because I really wanted to go on sooner, but I couldn't because the flu literally got the best of me. So I'm happy. I'm grateful that I'm better. But I hope everybody had a great Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. I hope you had a great one. I hope it was plentiful and blessed and full of happiness with family and friends. So I hope you all had a good one. Divalox, can you hear me? Because you're still here.
Let me go out.
I thought she was doing that. So, yeah, I hope everybody had a good one. The good thing is that while we haven't been on, the Knicks have literally found a way to continue to win. The Knicks have won, what, 7 games in a row straight now. And I honestly, I'm very happy in the manner and the fashion that the way the Knicks have won their games, considering I think there was some chatter about the way the Knicks have won their games. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can't hear, say something because I don't want there to be such a lag when I ask you a question and it seems like I'm talking to myself.
Anywho,
Um,
yeah, I can hear you.
but the Knicks have won now 7 in a row. And again, I'm just happy in the manner and the way the Knicks have won these games. I'm just gonna rewind it back slightly. I'm not gonna go really far back, but I just want to go back to the Christmas game the Knicks played against the Spurs. They played at home. They won 114 to 117. We were watching that game together, um, and we both agreed Mikel won that game for the Knicks. If it wasn't for him, I don't think that the Knicks would have won that game. And it seems like within this win streak that the Knicks have been winning, while collectively it's been a collective effort with other guys giving you a little bit of something. I would say it's been very heavy, predominantly the starters, because that's who Thibs has been rocking with. He's going deep in that. I'm rocking with the starters train um, movement. But within those 7 games, you notice that there's been those like one or two guys who's helped lead the way to get us over the hump to win, which some of those games have been close games. But Christmas game when Mikel proved why he belongs on his team. I believe he had 41 points, missed the mid range, another walking bucket. But I don't think if he would have done what he did, I don't think the Knicks would have won that game. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, for sure. He was key. He was huge. Um, Glad, Brunson was he recognized that he had the hot hand. So let me feed him and not him, just collectively the team, you know. Um, he just it's like this the game they had the other day, which we'll touch on it just yesterday. Like Mikel, like willed them to that win. Um, he made those key buckets when it was necessary. And people say, "Oh, Wemby outplayed them," but how? When Mikel gave you those buckets to get your team to win, and Wemby didn't, he was shut down not two times but three, twice by OG and once by Precious. So yeah, he had the better numbers, but Mikel willed that team to a win. He was the hot hand, he good feeling, just his everything was just like I guess he had that feeling. And a player knows when they have it that I'm a rock with it and go with it. And he had that it for that day. But it was just a nice. I'm glad they got the win though on Christmas Day. A nice present for all the fans.
Yeah, and shout out to the Knicks for recognizing who has the hot hand and kept feeding Macau the ball and kept giving him the ball, which is what I kept saying while watching that game. I was like, you need to keep feeding him the ball because he has the hot hand. So shout out to the Knicks for recognizing that and kept giving him the ball. One thing that I have noticed is that um, Carl Anthony gets in foul trouble very early. I thought we got away from that because that was an issue that we had with Isaiah Hartenstein when he used to get in foul trouble really quickly and get 2, 3 quick, easy fouls. But Carl Anthony, I noticed that he's getting these early fouls, and then it's having what's Tibbs is having to put in Precious in the game. And even though Precious, he doesn't have the height per se, I still think that he's doing a good job out on the floor. He's given the Knicks second, third chance opportunities. He's getting nice blocks out there on the floor. Even if it's a tip out of the ball, it's landing in a New York Knicks hands and it's giving us creating a shot opportunity for us that's helping us, in the long run. But I like him staying aggressive, um, you know, and I think the other thing too is that with Carl Anthony that I notice is that he's not just settling lately, as of late, he's not settling for those threes. And I thought the Knicks collectively as a whole haven't been settling for the threes because that's one of my biggest pet peeves with the Knicks is that they settle for 3-pointers way too much. And I like in the last few games that they've won the game playing aggressively in the paint and shooting mid-range shots. Like it's one thing if you don't guard the perimeter, but not settling for the threes and just trying to beat a team by making threes. I mean, I have to say it's beautiful to see. So I'm liking the aggressiveness and also the way the Knicks are pushing the ball up the floor.
Yeah, and shout out, they only have 5 turnovers. Kudos to them.
Yeah, they're protecting the ball as well, which is another good thing. I think there's been 1 or 2 games where we struggle from the free throw line, but the Knicks they're working on that. They're getting better at making more free throws. And getting to the line more anyway, regardless, because again, if you're shooting a bunch of threes, then that means you're not attacking the basket and you're not getting to the line enough. So I'm very happy with what I'm seeing with the Knicks that they're cutting down on shooting all those threes. I know that's something that Tibbs wants, but this proves that you don't need to outbeat a team or beat
Yeah.
a team by taking a ton of 3-point shots. You don't need to do that. Um, and just being the awareness of who has the hot hand. I'm loving when I'm seeing like in one of the plays yesterday when we played Washington, Jalen Brunson drove to the basket and the basketball kind of did a whole toilet bowl situation and it eventually went in. But if you notice, what stood out to me in that play was Josh Hart. He was ready to tip the ball back in. I said, see, that's why you got to love Josh Hart. The timing of his jump, and actually it was him and Carl Anthony both ready to tip the ball back in. But he was like ready. I mean, just just waiting, and you could see him. He was looking, and he backed out because he saw like, okay, I don't need to sit the ball in. It's going in. But Jalen Brunson, it's like he's extra locked in, and it's like we're not gonna be just losing games. I heard Bill Pito say in the MSG post game that the Knicks could have said, you know what, we're playing them on a back to back. We'll let this one go and we'll take the other one. That's the mentality I don't want to see from the Knicks. I don't care if you're playing a team two, three times back to back, and you're playing a team that's only won 5 freaking games. You better beat them. You better beat them because every win counts. You're only at what, 32 games now into the season?
Yeah.
You have about 50 more games left. And out of those 50 games, you best believe you need to get more than 50 wins if you're trying to stay at the number 3 spot when you got Paolo coming back for Orlando. And then you got teams like Milwaukee and Miami who want to eventually, they're going to find their rhythm and start to build their way into the standings in their wins. So the Knicks just have to stay the course, um, and continue to build upon these wins. But do you feel like there's been a shift so far that's happening, that the Knicks are having this win streak so early on in the season? This is, I believe, the second time in, I believe, 25 years that the Knicks have gone on this run like this and had start off the season, really well. But has there been a shift? Do you feel like that is having the Knicks go on such a run this early in the season?
I think it's a culmination of just like the different players that you have on your roster, because without your teammates, you can't do this and you can't do it alone. So I think it's just a matter of just um the players that you have, um they build like, and it's a chemistry, the cohesion, a lot of things factor in, and that guys knowing their role, because there was a lot. As Josh Hart said, I'm taking apology letters, so for Mikal, because there was a lot of naysays, even for Cat. um the trade, and Mikal, oh, we gave us so many picks. So it's they figured out their role. And like, I wasn't worried. It was one point I did like, okay, we need to, I'm like ready to push a panic button, but I was like, okay, just let it play out. I think when they had lost, they might have even lost 2 in a row or something like that. So yeah, the shift is that guys know their role. We you know we're gonna win together and lose together. Just being at the right place, just the plays being drawn up. Tibbs, I guess he, although they are playing a lot of minutes, but it's like the plays that he's drawing up, and just them being able to, like, offensively, that they're there. They're second, but the defense is, has to just amp up, a little bit, nail a little bit, a lot, but just playing together, that chemistry is there, the cohesion, just knowing each other. Um, and so I think that start, that great start again is the personnel, the players you have around you. So and no, I'm not shocked, because look at what they did last season. And to me, this is a better roster than last year. If you ask me, my personal opinion. Um, I think that shift is just, again, everybody's doing their part. Whether it's Josh, all his hustle plays, his aggressiveness, and this Cat, and of course there's things they got to clean up, because we know he's prone for fouls. And he even mentioned it. He has to play smarter, and there's some things he can't control, some things he can't. He has to, you know play smarter, and know when, like, those fouls, that some of them are just like, okay, it's on me. Like I have to be smarter and play, smarter to remain on that floor. So again, it's just knowing each other. And as the more they play, I think it's gonna definitely, those kinks are gonna get worked out.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think that this roster is a lot better than last year's roster. When I watched yesterday's game, the pace of that game was extremely fast. It was very fast. And I think that part of that was because, shout out to Monica McNutt, she brought up a good point. You had a lot of guys who are not getting any burn, who were hungry to play minutes on Washington. So the Knicks, I give them their credit. They were able to keep up with the pace of that game. They didn't come out sluggish. They didn't look too slow. They weren't behind. And sometimes you have to be careful because, you know, when you playing against a team who are struggling like Washington, that could be, a bait game for you where you may think, oh, the Knicks have this game. But that was a well played out game considering Washington has a man down situation going on. But the pace of that game was very, very fast. And I think that going back to what you were just saying with, um, there's a shift happening. It's happening in the right direction for the Knicks, and that the Knicks, they're finding their rhythm together as a team. They seem to be playing a lot more comfortable together. They seem to be finding each other. I mean, again, there's still kinks and stuff that they have to work out. Not even just the defense. I saw like Cat threw a pass across the middle of the floor and it like completely got stolen. And I'm like, it's little things like that you're like, yeah, I guess you could, mistakes happen, but it's like, these are things you have to work on while you're in this winning 7-game win streak and counting. But I believe that this Knicks team is finding their identity and they're figuring out who they are. And it's showing while you watch them play. The Knicks look a lot more confident. They're fun to play with. They're they're um they're fun to watch. And it's just this energy that they're bringing. And I know that there's some Knicks fans who, and I'm one of them, who I'm wondering how long is this sustainable for Thibs to keep playing the starters so many minutes? Because I think there's that question kind of, there's layers to it. And that I know some people feel like, well, when the Knicks get back Mitchell Robinson, you'll have him. And I was saying this to you on the phone the other day. I believe the front office has the same lens on Mitch like they did on Julius Randle last year when they were, or I should say, when it was, if he was going to be on the Knicks this season, they were going to be watching to see, one, does he stay healthy? Not because Randall's an injury prone player. I want to make that clear. But one, can he stay healthy? And then two, what is he going to do for us in the playoffs? And I think with Mitchell Robinson, if the Knicks decide, well, we're going to rock with him and keep him, okay, cool. They're going to rock with him. They're going to keep him, right? They don't trade Mitchell Robinson off. The front office now is watching Mitch to see, you going to have an injury? Because if not, we're going to have to part ways. It's a job at the end of the day. You get paid millions of dollars. Mitchell Robinson at $14.31 million, he'll be owed. I believe it's for this season. The next season, I think it goes down to 12,
Yeah.
some change. But the front office has these eyes on Mitchell Robinson and that they're closely watching Mitchell to see if he's going to sustain an injury and what can he do for this team longer than 1 to 3 months. If Mitchell Robinson cannot stay healthy, the front office, I can guarantee you they're going to have to part ways. Just like a job, it's not working out. You know, you're good for us when you're here, you do your job, but it's a little inconsistent for us. So we're going to need somebody here who can actually be a little bit more consistent for us on the floor, who can give us what you do, you know, and we're going to have to part ways. Now, you and I was talking about if the Knicks were to do a package deal. I told you I read that the package deal would be Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims. I'm not sure if teams are going to want two centers
Yeah.
versus Mitchell
Yeah.
Robinson, and I'm using as an example Deuce and Landry Shamet. I'm just using as example. That's more what they're going to want, a combo like that. And you know the Knicks always get cornered into doing those type of trades. But what do you see the Knicks doing when it comes to Mitch? You know, or do you think it depends on what I was just saying? They're going to wait and see, and then we have to make a move from there in the off season.
Well, definitely, I think it's a wait and see, and they're gonna see how he holds up, see what productivity he can do for the team, like how much he can give and what he's able to do, his limits and what he's not able to do, and 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 it's unfortunate, but Dolan Senior, he did pass away, so now the reigns been passed along to his son. Um, you know, I definitely feel his son is like championship or bust. And so he may just go all out, and you never know what could come out of that, because Dolan, he was just, I get it's your team. He was just too involved and wouldn't, but he did step back. But I think at this point, they're going to definitely let's do a wait and see how Mitch hold up, as far as, injury wise and what he's able to do, because when he come back, yeah, he's gonna be unlimited, but he's gonna be expected to do those other things, that he was able to do. Yeah, it's gonna be a slow process, but if you're not, then okay, we like you said, it's a business, it's a job. Then you get your walking papers, and they will find somebody to fill that void and that need. So I think a lot of it hinges on just his health and what he's if he's able to remain on that floor.
Yeah,
But I hope it's not at the sacrifice of one of the core guys like us, like a Deuce, like you were saying.
yeah, one of the role players who the Knicks are gonna need. Yeah, because I feel like I think that's what the Knicks problem has been so far. Like we have a roster, like especially who we have now. I don't want to see the front office disrupt that for a trade in the off season because you're chasing championship contention and that you decide, well, we're gonna trade this guy or move this guy, um, because this will be a better fit. Now, has it worked so far? Yes, it's worked. Any trades that the front office has done, absolutely. And I agree with you. A lot of Knicks fans were calling Cat soft and saying he was this, that, and the third, and that Mikal, we gave up too many picks for him. And my biggest argument was a lot of fans kept comparing and they were upset because they felt like Devo gives you more than what Mikal gives you, which is not
Hmm.
true. Because if you watch
Exactly.
the differences in their game, forget the fact that Dante is even struggling this season. If you really watch their games, Devo can't give you what Mikal gives you on that floor every night. Dante was more of a catch and shoot beyond the arc. He had his moments where he would be explosive and drive to the basket dunk. But Mikal, and this is another thing I haven't heard anybody really talk about with Mikal, that he does so well on this Knicks team. He cuts to the basket so well. He finds his way almost like OG in these sneaky spots that players are not expecting him to be. And they're able to
Mhm.
get the ball fed to them right under the basket for the easy layup, easy dunk, a easy shot. And he does that so well getting to the basket. Not to mention that both him and OG have one of the hardest jobs every night in playing defense on one of the top guys on the opposing team. But Mikel does such an excellent job cutting to the basket on a night in, night out basis that, it's just nice to see. And I want that to become more infectious with other guys, your Josh, your Deuce, your Shamits. I want to see guys like that cut to the basket more. This way they can get the open ball. Just like keep saying I want to see Brunson utilize the pick and roll more with Cat. I don't really see it done as much as I would like to see it. So I would like to see them utilize that more as to their advantage. But I think as fans, a lot of times we're so quick to critique a potential guy who could possibly fit here. Now, one of the guys that I had brought up the other day, and I'm not saying this is who I want, you got to put disclaimers out there, but was DeAndre Ayton. And I know you said you're not a fan. And I never really was a fan either. But I'm saying this because shout out to Sterling Smith. He asked, who are we going to replace him if he is traded? Cannot just bring anybody in. I agree 100%. You can't just bring anybody in, right? Like, shout out to Queen. I heard her say this a few episodes ago on one of her shows. She was like, you know, at this rate, she said it's like we want the Knicks to just go find a guy who's 6'8", 7 feet tall, and say, you play basketball? You want to play on the Knicks team? Just because you're tall. Just because you're tall doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do the job of what we're looking for. What this Knicks team needs is someone who's going to give you a little bit of what Mitchell Robinson does and a little bit of what Isaiah Hartenstein did. You need to somebody who could give you a little bit of that, who's gritty, who's tough, who's not afraid to get dunked on, who can block, who's not going to foul every 2 seconds, who's not going to leave their feet quickly over every little hesitation, who's going to get you rebounds, who's going to set solid screens, who's not afraid to dribble the basketball to get themselves out of the way if they need to, who's not going to clog up the paint, who can not just play volleyball. If they're going to tip it, you're tipping it to someone who's on the same team as you, but who can grab the basketball with authority, who's going to be a defensive presence in the paint and not allow anyone to come in and just do what they feel like doing. You need someone who's going to be not afraid to dive and get the loose basketballs. If they got to dive 5 stands, seats, rows in, you need somebody who's going to do a little bit of all of that. The garbage work, who's not there, who's just in the motion of the game. If for all of that, then you might as well just keep Jericho Sims. You might as well and then play a little bit of Huck Porty. We need somebody in there who's gonna be gritty, aggressive, who can score. You don't have to be fancy pants and be like Carl Anthony. We're not asking you to do that. We're not asking you to be like Valachunas and you could do this and you could do that. If you can, great. But what we need you to do is not just be a big body who's just, I'm going down on defense. I'm coming back on offense. I'm going to set a screen here and there. I need more than that. And that's what this front office is looking for, a little bit more than that. You can't just give us the basics. We need a little bit more as we're going through this journey of contention this year, as we're fighting to get to contention, as the Knicks are fighting to get out of the second round. I could keep going because this could turn into Nick's church on this Sunday. So
Knicks church.
while I think Mitchell Robinson could fulfill that void, my biggest concern with Mitchell Robinson is, can Mitchell Robinson stay healthy? Because at the end of the day, yes, the Knicks are going to need him, right? You need everyone to stay healthy. We need everyone to remain healthy. But I also wonder with Thibs playing guys so many minutes, or as many minutes as he's playing them, because we don't. When you look at the bench scoring, the Knicks get outscored. The Knicks bench get outscored every game because we don't really have a full set of guys coming off the bench who Thibs gives them enough minutes. I think the only two that's really getting minutes is Campaign and Deuce McBride. And then Shamit got minutes the other day. He got a couple of minutes. But if the game is tight, Thibs is pretty much playing guys the same. He's playing the same couple of guys. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on um, Thibs playing guys as many minutes as he's playing, and is that sustainable
But
for
oh,
the
it's
whole
not
season?
sustainable. Well, of course, the minutes are up. Um, it seems like it's from last season, and I don't know. And he has a rotation to go to, but for whatever reason, Tibbs is just still, he'll venture out. Like the other day, he did do he went to the 9 man, but that's few and far in between. I don't think it's sustainable, not, definitely health wise, because it's a long season. You still got 50 games left. So, you know, I, I, I wish it can, diminish, but, he has to go into his roster. J-Boogie, good
What's going
morning,
on, J-Boogie?
afternoon.
Good early afternoon. Please go ahead. Don't no interruption. Finish your take.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about like the minutes. Of course, for me as a fan, that's not sustainable. Now, because I'm looking at long term and long health, longevity for them to make it. Because yeah, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm manifesting it. I'm speaking into existence. So, and as a fan, I have to, because I'm believing in this team. So, like, is it sustainable? Let's hope it is. But as a fan, I don't like it. I wish, you know, he will go into his little bag more often and trust in those guys. Um, but we'll see.
What's going on, J-Boogie?
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Blessed health, happiness to everybody. Merry Christmases. Happy holidays as we move along for this 2024. I'm just getting in. I'm just coming in from that Brunson concert last night. Yeah, it was an amazing concert. I hope everybody was there. If you weren't there, you need to go back and check the footage because it was amazing. You know what I'm saying? To be able to watch this guy perform like he performed as a closing act. Watching him to go from dropping two Knicks, to wake up the next day and get on this podcast with two chicks. I'm all for it. I'm not going to be here long with it. More importantly, outside of basketball, I just wanted to come up here and celebrate and honor and respect you two ladies and tell you how much I appreciate y'all for what y'all doing. I wanted to make sure that me, J-Boogie, I wanted to make sure I come up here and be a part of y'all viewing of the last show of the year on a Sunday, and make sure that I just came up here and threw y'all ladies y'all flowers and let y'all know somebody's keeping up with what y'all be doing in your time. And I know you just came up on a year and everything. So I just wanted to let you know, I love and appreciate what y'all doing. I wanted to shout y'all out, make sure, everybody know this show been rocking for a year on Sundays, so this is a celebration too at the same time as y'all dropping the jewels on you saying on this Nick team that we love from the game last night and everything from the season. But I just wanted to make sure that y'all get y'all proper glorified, y'all proper flowers, you know what I'm saying, for y'all last viewing, y'all last Sunday show before the 2025 come in. 2024 has been blessful. You know, I'm the type, you know, a lot of people, they look for 2025, but I always celebrate the leaving of a year that I just made it through, because I don't know what's really coming, you know, in the future of 25, even though I'm happy to make it. And I hope everybody else will be happy to make it. But I always celebrate that beautiful year that I made it through, because so many people don't make it through these years, you know, and there's so many people struggling to get up out these years. So, but I just want to come and just love and respect y'all, not hold y'all show up, no nothing, but just make sure y'all, you know, get your proper glory, you know what I'm saying? And shout y'all two ladies out, you know, a mother and a daughter, two sisters, you know what I'm saying? Two chicks, however you want to perform it on this show. But y'all are glorified, loved, and appreciated.
I appreciate you, J-Boogie, as always. I saw
Appreciate
you
that.
last night on Legion. Y'all was
Right,
doing a live watch along. I
right.
saw you look up at one point. You was looking up at the clock when it was the
Yeah,
Knicks was down by like 3. I saw you looking. I was like, let me I said, let me wait. I said, because I have a feeling the Knicks are gonna pull this one out. So I was happy they won that one.
yeah, I do. They would, you know what I'm saying, handle their business, you know. You know, it's tough. It's tough going, it's tough coming home from off a road trip and only got one day to prepare yourself as far as shopping and making sure you're giving everybody, you know, you're making sure you're doing things that you want to do for your family and outside of your family as friends too. And then the next day you have to wake up and get prepared for a 12 o'clock noon game, you know what I'm saying, which is the biggest game on Christmas. That first game where nobody else is playing and everybody is watching. You know, you don't get the second game until what, 2:30, you know, somewhere around there. But all sports are being held up and everybody is watching that game. And then you got to turn around and get right back on the road and travel and go play, you know, in Orlando against a team that's mighty gritty, you know what I'm saying? They play hard nose, they play hard D, you know, and then, you know, not only playing them, but trying to beat them 3 times in a row and then 2 times in their own building. That takes a lot on you. And then we didn't shoot a lot of trays that night. You know, that's the least amount of trades that you probably seen and will see in a long time for a winning Knick team without a bunch of trades, you know. And then to turn around, you know, for the very next day and have to go to Go-Go City and deal with a bunch of young youth guys that don't understand really how to play basketball, but they athletic and gifted and they running up and down the court and you chasing these guys back and forth. Sooner or later, you had to slow them down and, you know, bring out a victory. But that's not very easy to do. Me, I take the ugly wins more than I take ugly loss. Meaning like Brunson scoring 55 in an ugly game and we won versus Brunson scoring 61 in a pretty game and we lost in San Antonio last year. You know, so I take, you know what I'm saying, the good as needed. And we still on our win streak. We still winning games. We still top 5 in the NBA. We top 3 in the East. We ain't even got it all down packing together yet, but it's getting better and better. You know, and shout out to everybody on the road squads going to city to city. Madison Square Garden is Madison Square Garden. But until you around a bunch of Knicks fans and really around some people that you know on the road in somebody else's arena, that is more exciting than being in the Garden. I know for a fact, you know, I done been in a lot of road arenas, you know, but hey, shout out to everybody that be traveling, going to other places. I seen a Phoenix Sacramento game, I want to say, this week, and a Knick fan was in there with a Knick jersey on. You know we're loved when we're at a game and we're not even playing, and they had good seats, and they rocking that orange and blue, man. Shout out to them guys, man. Shout out to y'all. I'm gonna make way up out of here. I gotta make sure I do something by 1 o'clock, and I got 18 minutes, but I needed to make sure I mash the gas and shout y'all women out. And everybody, make sure you subscribe, share this channel. Hit the like button if you're watching and you ain't done at least one of those 2 things, majorly hitting that like button, you are holding the show back. Just know that you're holding the show back. You're holding yourself back. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. You know, I already hit it. I was the first one to touch the #1. That's why I made my
I saw
comment. But shout out to everybody, the show coming and everybody coming in. But God bless you all on this beautiful last Sunday of 2024. Love and appreciate y'all to the fullest.
Appreciate you, J-Boogie. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, yes. Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's.
Shout out to J-Boogie.
Happy New Year to you.
Sterling Smith said Boston is the only team I'm concerned about come playoff time. So you're not concerned about Cleveland? I know the Knicks have Cleveland's number, but the way Cleveland are playing, they found out the formula.
Yeah.
Right now they're playing with the way Cleveland is playing is F around and find out.
Yeah, but you got to factor when we had Mitch last
I understand that.
season.
I knew that's where you was going. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's where I'm going. Granted, I know Mitch has to get his foot in the basketball condition and X, Y, and Z, but if we can keep a healthy Mitch on that floor, I'm not worried about Cleveland. And with Cat, by then he'll figure out how to stay on that floor and work out those kinks as far as foul troubles. I'm not worried about Cleveland, not at all.
I
Yeah.
think I think for me I am because I don't want the Knicks to get embarrassed like Boston handed them a complete embarrassment. I don't want Cleveland to do that to the Knicks where they figured out how to space the floor out. They're able to make their passing, the extra pass, the unselfish basketball that they're playing. I'm not so much worried about, okay, when you have both Mitchell Robinson and you have Carl Anthony on the floor and they could be a force in the paint, giving you those second chance opportunities. I'm worried about when you have those guards on Cleveland behind the perimeter and they're knocking down the threes and we're not able to guard the perimeter or we're not able to stop Spider from doing his hezzy move and then he wants to pretend like he's going to the paint and then he pops out and now he's chucking up threes or you giving it to Garland and he's doing whatever he's doing. So that's more of what I'm worried about. And that's how eventually 1-3 here, it turns into 4 threes, 5 3, 6 threes. And now they got a lead. Now they're getting the easy bucket down in the paint. They're running the Knicks up and down the floor, running them up amok. And maybe it could be an off night for the Knicks. Maybe the Knicks are just not on. But that's more so what I'm worried about is that I don't want Cleveland to embarrass the Knicks. Again, the Knicks have been playing very well and that they're finding their identity. They're playing a lot better. And I agree with you. Yes, Carl Anthony will have his footing and Mitch will be in a lot better shape as the season goes along. But I'm just worried about can the Knicks get those stops? Because to me, those are really the only two teams that the Knicks have to worry about to me is Boston and Cleveland. And I would say maybe in the West, I would say OKC because they're a very good team. They're the number one team in the West, and they just play very well together. Um, and then, for some reason, Houston is just playing really well too. I'm not understanding what the hell's going on there, but they figured out how to play a lot better this season as well. So, just the way the Knicks are a threat in their own right in their own division, there's other teams who are doing their own thing as well. So I just think that like with last year, there were certain teams that we struggled against. Like for example, I really wanted us to beat Dallas, and we struggled against them last season as well. And you allow Kyrie to once again, he did it last year, he did it again this year, put the team on his back, and he was able to will a win. And this is what I mean with teams like that, where I want to see the Knicks be able to capitalize and beat teams like that. So I don't know. I feel a little, when it comes to Boston and Cleveland, I think the Knicks have a little, they have to prove that they can beat those two teams. So you don't see an issue when it comes to Cleveland, but do you see an issue with Boston?
I don't even Boston more so than with Cleveland, but again, the more these guys play, the more they're gonna gel. So that's why I don't see even Boston and keep, yeah, they got the big three, but you know, you 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 got Cat Brunson, Mikel. Oh, yeah, they got Porzingis and this, but again, the more they play, the more that cohesion is gonna come together, and the more they're gonna gel. And Cat's gonna figure out, again, his Fallon situation, um, and and again, that same threat that Boston is posed, then now you got to do on the flip side that the Knicks can pose that same threat as Cleveland. So no, I don't, Boston more so than Cleveland, but nah, and you know maybe, and if when Cleveland, whoever they face, they may get battle tested in that first round. So now that wears them down. So no, I don't, nah, not at all. I think more so Boston than Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, out of the two, I agree. I think that the Knicks can beat Cleveland more so than Boston. Absolutely. Um, and I agree. Sometimes when you play that first round, it's a battle test. And then when you get to the second round, the playoffs are meant to get harder. They're not meant to get easier. So it's going to be a tough feat no matter what. But I don't know. I think that, time will tell. And as the season goes on, you don't know what's going to happen with teams and, how they're going to shake up as they play along throughout the season. When you look at our bench, you have Jericho Sims, you have Deuce, Cameron Payne, Precious Achua, and then you have
Shamit.
Shamit, right? Do you feel like those guys are not getting enough minutes?
Of course, they're not getting enough.
So what's enough minutes that they should be playing? What, 10 minutes? Or is it because right now it seems like it's game by game situational for Tibbs. So if games are close, which there was, I don't remember what game it was that we were playing most recently, and the Knicks were up by like 20 something points. It was like 5, 6 minutes left in the game. Tibbs did not put the bench guys in. I was like, wow.
There's a few
They'd
that
rather keep playing the starters.
was that the Orlando game when they were up and they won. Um,
It had to been. It was one of the most the Knicks were slammering the other team. And I'm like looking at the stats, I'm looking at to see what minutes whoever's played. And I didn't see no shift. And I'm not even talking about like Kolick and Huck. Like I'm talking about like, well, damn, are you gonna play Cameron Payne more than 6 minutes? Are you gonna put Shaman in some more minutes? Like Tibbs. And I think that's the problem. It's like he forgets that he has bench players that he can play. But when you look at their minutes, what's a good amount of minutes that they should be getting, that can rest Josh and OG, and so that they're not playing as many minutes. What should they be playing? Should he be giving them at least 10 minutes?
at a minimum, which yeah, I I would say minimum they should definitely, because again, like we know Tibbs is all about trust, but they've shown you what they can do. And I love when Deuce and Campaign is playing together.
Hmm.
They're like those speedy like guards, and they want to get up, and they play with control. So that's things that he should see. I feel they should get between 10 and 12 minutes. Definitely 10 minimum. It's a 48-minute game. There's no reason why these guys are playing 42, 47 minutes and 41. Like again, that's what the question you just posed before, and a lot of people agree. Like those minutes are just not sustainable if you're gonna, make it when you make it to the Eastern Conference Final. Like it, barring injuries, yeah, I think it's just I don't know Tibbs, man.
Yeah, 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 I agree. Yeah, I agree with this. Payne has played well, and Tibbs is, yeah, he's stuck on his same 5, 6 guys. And it's
Yeah.
true because I even haven't been seeing Deuce get that many minutes lately. It's like
Hmm.
If you're not Bridges, Hart, Brunson, OG, or Carl, you'd be lucky if Thibs calls your number. You know, so yeah, campaign is stuck at that 6-minute mark. And then I'm not
Yeah.
understanding why he's also not playing Landry Shamet minutes as well, who you know can give you. That's what kills me too, because you would think. Remember, I said like two episode could have been the last episode, 2 episodes ago. I said I've taken out of my mind Thibs calling for Thibs to play the rookies. It's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's too much to ask if we say, well, can you at least play Deuce? Can you play Shamit? Can you play Cameron Payne? Like, why can't you play those guys who you know they can give you something out there? Not only that, you can have Mikal, you can have OG, you can have Josh Hart sit down a couple of minutes so they can take a breather, and those guys can give you, you know, something out there on the floor. They're not gonna just come out there and they're scrubs, they're bums. They're more, all of them are capable of scoring. They can get you steals, they can get you a
Yeah.
rebound, they can bring the ball up the floor. And actually, I saw where Cam said he plays really well with Shamit because they played together before. So he said, I actually like being on the floor with him at the same time. And this is what I don't understand when it comes to Thibs and his coaching sometimes. Like, it's just like Precious and OG, they play well together on the floor. You know, and I've seen a few times already where you'll catch OG, he'll go up to Precious to give him a 5. They play really well together. So I don't know why Thibs doesn't take advantage of that and won't play certain guys together on the floor to give them that, allow them to dive into that chemistry and play together. So I don't know. I don't know what's the deal with that, with Thibs playing, you know, the starters heavy minutes when you can play, you know, you have at least 4 guys who are more than capable. And it seems like the only guy that's getting the minutes is Precious, and that's because Carl is getting in foul trouble, so Precious is
Yep.
getting the minutes. But otherwise than that, campaign, the last few games I've looked, he's getting 6 minutes a game. That's not really anything. Shamit, if he's lucky. I get that he just came back, but again, I don't get the logic in that Thibs would rather keep playing Josh Hart, Brunson, 47, 48 minutes. Why?
And
Why are
Mikal,
you,
yeah.
yeah, why are you playing them so many minutes? So I don't know. I mean, clearly it's a chemistry thing, but the Knicks, a lot of guys on the team already have their own chemistry, you know, and I don't know. It's like Thibs is just, it's also a trust thing. Yeah,
Mm,
I guess it needs to be 40 points before Thibs is like, all right, you could play. It's just
yeah.
strange how Thibs plays guys. Landry just returned, so he has to sort of earn Thibs' trust. I don't I don't know what more trust does Thibs need. What golden ticket of trust do you have to get from Thibs so that he can play you enough minutes in a game to prove that you belong on the team?
But you know, that's how Tibbs is, you know.
I don't understand that. Shout out to Eddie C. He said Tibbs did the same thing to Shake Milton last season. Yeah, we was calling for Shake to get minutes and
Yep.
he ain't do it either. He just left him on the bench. He said Josh, OG, and Mikal eat up major minutes. Yeah, but then you can sit Josh, OG, and Mikal if you play Deuce, um, Shamit, and Payne. You can sit them for a couple of extra for 5 minutes if you can give those guys, you know, 6 to 8 minutes, 10 minutes in a game. I'm not understanding why do you keep needing to play Josh, OG, and Mikal so many minutes? And like I said, Carl Anthony's only getting, because he's getting in foul trouble, it's allowing Precious to get the minutes that he's getting. So I don't know. Jardoni Jonovich, salute to you, said, I worry for Jalen and Cat getting hurt playing late in the fourth of a blowout. Thibs does it all the time. Thibs thinks because of the three, no lead is safe. This will come back and bite them. It's possible. I agree. I mean, and not just for Jalen and Cat, but OG Ananobi, you know, Carl Anthony, like you said, Jalen, Josh Hart. I just don't want, and I said this before, I don't want the Knicks to get to the playoffs. You they battle it out in the first round, and then you get to the second round, and now guys are so gassed and winded that they can't even get past the second round because they're just depleted of all energy from having played 82 games in a regular season, just played a first round of a playoff game, and now they have no energy to get past the second round.
But this is an interesting point.
Wonder Woman salute said Tibbs has an army of coaches. Do they have any input?
It makes you wonder because look, he lost Johnny. He lost. Yeah, like I'm saying, he lost Johnny Bryant to Cleveland, so it just makes you wonder. And he even lost his the replay coach. Remember, so it makes you wonder, like, how much input do they have? Did he leave because he was frustrated, and he didn't have that much input and say so? So that's just like an interesting point that she brought up. Because we don't like, why did he leave? He was practically like second, because remember Brunson got Rick got Johnny's position. So Johnny Bryant was second, under Tibbs. So it
Mhm.
just makes you wonder, did he leave out of frustration or what, because he didn't have a lot of input. So it just makes you wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if, like, as an assistant coach, do you feel like I need to just play my role and I give my input when we're watching film or during practice? And, or maybe you're that assistant coach who goes in a coach's ear to say, hey, he has 3 fouls. We need to sit him down. Or, hey, we need to, put so and so
Mhm.
in. And you don't feel like you have enough power to speak up to say, hey, if we
Mhm.
try to shift and make these adjustments in the game, this can help us in the long run, because you feel like I'm going to get the feedback from the head coach of, like, I'm the head coach. What I say goes. I'm big, you're
Yeah.
small, stay in your position, and that's it. And I wonder if that's the case with some of the assistant coaches and they don't feel comfortable enough speaking up to Tibbs to say, I would do things a little differently, or I would change this or change that. And it makes you wonder, you know. Excuse me. Precious only plays because he doesn't want to play Jericho. Well, yeah, because you're going to get more production out of Precious than you get Jericho. Has Jericho stepped up? Yes, but I think it's a little too late. I think to some degree, Jericho stepping up as of late has helped his trade value, and Precious is on the verge of doing the same thing. Precious is trying to do for himself like what um what's his name? Isaiah Hartenstein did. He's looking to have teams look at him and want to acquire him in the off season. And he's more than capable of doing that. Is he the same? I'm not comparing him and saying he's does the same thing like Isaiah Hartenstein, but that's what he's looking to do. But I think that Precious is going to give you a lot more production than Jericho Sims. And, this was a given that when Precious came back, Jericho Sims minutes was going to go down drastically. Like, this was a given that this was going to happen, because Jericho, he's only going to be able to give you but so much. He's been on his team now. Him and Deuce has been on the team the same tenure now with the Knicks. And Deuce has far surpassed him. So, I mean, yeah, Precious is definitely going to get more minutes than Jericho. Like, there's no There's no question that. John McDonald salutes that as fans, we tend to overthink coaching. Tibbs has taken as far as we've been in decades. He played to win. Sometimes that demands heavy minutes, but our bench is getting healthy. Be patient. Yeah, I think that we are being patient. And I know that there are a lot of Knicks fans, long tenure Knicks fans who are have been vocalizing, staying patient with this team. And I think that like if you're a longtime Knicks fan, you'll agree with me and that we've been patient long enough. I said this before. I waited 28 years for the New York Liberty to win a championship. And we've waited over 50 years for the Knicks to get it together and win a championship. And here's the thing with Tibbs, and I've said this before with Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau, when he coaches teams and he gets head coaching jobs, he takes teams from the bottom and brings them to a better level as a team, as an organization. They become
For
better
sure.
historically. That's what he's known to do. But Tibbs hasn't proved that as a head coach, that he can win a championship. And that's part of the reason why he was brought to this Knicks team. And that's why they extended him. Sure, we have our qualms with Tibbs all the time with some things that we just don't agree on. It happens with coaches. You're not going to agree with every little thing, scheme, rotation that they do, and whatever it falls under head coaching, right? The overplaying the minutes. And I get that there's a trust factor in his starters, and that's why he's going to play them heavy minutes. But I do think that Tibbs has to prove with who he has, because you can't use the excuse Tibbs doesn't have enough to work with. The complaint that Tibbs had before we got OG Anunoby, when we still had RJ, when we had Quickly, again, I wasn't there. None of us was there, but I'm sure that Tibbs was probably in meetings with Leon and the rest of the gang. Leon and the gang, Cool and the gang. That's how I like to call him. I'm sure that that Tibbs probably was like, you want me to make something happen, but I'm working with what I have. And Leon said, okay, we're going to get you what you need. So the front office has done their job and made moves and got this team what they need. He has more than enough to work with, especially this season.
Yeah,
And considering this team has been healthy so far this season, I'm knocking on wood, that there's no excuse why Tibbs can't make things happen with the roster makeup that he has now. Sure, you're missing another big. You're missing Mitchell Robinson, who will be back. But even when he comes back, there's no reasoning or excuse as to why this team can't go further than where they went last year. You have the roster in place to make it happen. So I think that while we continue to remain patient, I agree with you, John. We have to remain patient. There's no other thing that we can do. But I can speak for me and say that I like to see improvement each year. And yes, the past few years, this Knicks team has for sure went from laughing stock and embarrassment to getting better each season. This Knicks team is moving in a direction of contention and championship. And as championship teams, it takes time to win a championship. But this team has proven that they're moving in that direction. And that's what I like to see. I want them to continue to see this Knicks team to get better. But I think with Tibbs, I think there's pressure on Tibbs. I think there's pressure on the players. I think there's pressure on the entire New York Knicks organization to not just fall in the flat bucket of we're just known as a team who makes the playoffs. It has to be more than just, well, yeah, the Knicks make the playoffs. They're not a one and done first round team. Yeah, they make the playoffs. You have to do more than just make the playoffs as the Knicks team. This city, this fan base, we need a championship. And for a lot of us, the finals is not even enough. And it's not saying that you have to go to the championship this year. That's not what we're saying, what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that you can't fall into we're just going to make the playoffs. Whoop-de-darn do. You've already proved that you can do that. You can't just fall into, well, we're going to make the first round or the second round. You've already proven that you can do that. So what I'm basically saying is that you have to learn to get better every year. And this team has to prove that not only can they achieve and do better than the previous year. So that's why I was saying, like, let's not, I said this before, let's not just become complacent and just say, oh, yeah, 50 wins are going to be good enough. No, let's do better than that. Go for 55 wins. Have a better standing than you did last year. Get out of the second round. And then you're showing that you're not just a good regular season team, but you're getting better in the postseason as a team as well. And you're getting closer and closer to championship contention. And this team can make it there. There's no question on the offense. It's the defense also that has to get better to make them a well-balanced team. But Thibs has to prove that he can win a championship as a head coach. He has yet to prove that he can do that yet. And I'm hoping that he can do that with this New York Knicks team. Do I think that he can do it? Yeah.
But
Right. There's still, there's still some left to be said there. So the Knicks, to me, need to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And, Thibs has to prove that he can take this team past the second round, especially this year. You've already proven that you can make it to the second round. You got to get out of it. So if this team, as long as they can remain healthy, what is going to be the excuse? Because last year we had a man down situation where we had a lot of health issues. So if these players are healthy, you can't, there's no excuses. You have the roster makeup. So no matter who you face off in round one, round two, you got to get past them. So, we'll see what happens. But Tom Thibodeau has to prove that he can get this Knicks team past round 1 and 2 of the playoffs. He can win a championship, which he has yet to do as a head coach. Not just the Knicks head coach, but a head coach. Sterling Smith said, Leon has done what others in the past couldn't or didn't. Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Diva Locks was saying, because Dolan had too much control in the past. Knows nothing about basketball, but wanted all this control. And that's why the Knicks used to really be stinking up the joint. Remember when they would be at home getting booed?
Oh, yeah.
You know nothing about basketball. Why are you trying to have all this say-so and you want tight lip on every little thing, but you're not allowing the coaches in the front office to do what they're doing? And there's a new regime. There's a new front office in house, and you see the differences that are being made. Leon came in. I said this before. He came in like Mr. Clark and Lean on Me and made changes. We're not doing that anymore. We're not doing this anymore. We're not grabbing these players and then we're going to owe them money for years after they're no longer with us. We're not doing bad deals anymore. We're not going to grab you, and we're not going to grab no more Joakim Noahs and Eddie Currys and then owe them money for years after they're here and they're complete bust. We're not doing that anymore. Sean said, lately he's been looking at different lineups during the game, always leaving strong defense personnel on the court. Let's see how much better Mitch, I'm assuming you're saying Mitch makes us leaning to play with Cat. Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to see Mitch and Cat playing together for sure. I want to see that makeup together with those two guys playing on the floor at the same time, because that'll be a hell of a defensive lineup. And then having Precious as your backup. And if you need to utilize Jericho Sims, yeah. So we'll see. Nick Yak Salute said our 8-man player rotation is starters, which won't change. And Mitch, Precious, and McBride will be mixed in with the starters. Any 2 starters work with them, including Cat. Yeah. But see, this is why Thibs, this is another thing with Tom Thibodeau too. If you're an opposing coach on the team, I think a lot of times with Thibs, he becomes very readable and predictable. So when you entering in the playoffs, if you're going to play the same 5 guys, the opposing team is going to be like, okay, I can read what they're going to do. Because you're not throwing, Tom Thibodeau's not throwing in a wrench into the game. You're not throwing in a campaign. You're not throwing in Douche. You're not throwing in a different, guy into with the 4 other starters or whoever else you may, even if it's for a couple of minutes. If you're playing those same 7, 8 guys, but you're not mixing it up and throwing in different combinations, you're too readable. You're going to be readable. And Tom Thibodeau is, I feel like, yes, he's not going out there on the floor and playing the game, but I think a lot of what his schemes and what he does can be very readable for other teams, and it could be very predictable, and teams could read that. But it's up to the players to make it different and difficult for other teams to read the offense and the different schemes. So,
well, and most teams know that the Knicks come out slow.
yeah, which is a problem. Which is a problem for the Knicks. You can't afford to come out slow. Rondu1973 said the bench must get better for the Knicks to improve. I think the bench is going to be hard for them to get better if Thibs doesn't play them. Because the Knicks don't have a full on, they don't have enough depth when it comes to the bench. But how can they get better if Thibs doesn't even give them any minutes? He's given 1 or 2 guys minutes. And I'm going to say minus Precious, because Precious is getting the minutes because Carl Anthony gets in foul trouble. But the only 2 guys that's really getting minutes is Deuce and Cam. How are they going to improve if Thibs don't even give them any minutes? So to show that they've gotten better, or that they can be an asset when you get to the postseason, you're going to need those guys like Deuce to be a spark off the bench, Campaign to be a spark off the bench and give you something defensively, Shamit to be a spark off the bench and be an X factor when you're getting nothing or only getting something from 2 guys in your starters. Because let's keep it real. OG, while he finds other ways to be an asset for this team, he's been a little up and down offensively. I'm not worried about him, but he's been in a little bit of an offensive stump. But when you get to the playoffs and you're only really getting something maybe out of Brunson and Cat, for example, maybe second game out of the first round, you may get something from Mikal and maybe Brunson. But you need another guy or 2. Bring one of those guys in off the bench. You never know what Payne may do for you, Deuce may do for you, Shamit may do for you coming off the bench. Then you add in Mitchell Robinson, but you won't know if you keep them on the bench, parked on the bench, and they got to be cheerleaders and, cheering on guys when they do something good on the floor. Come on now. John said he has the pieces to win a championship, but health always derails our chances. If healthy, we should at least make the conference finals. I'm accepting nothing less. Absolutely. Health has been the issue, but I don't think that's going to be the issue for the Knicks this year. I really don't think that's going to be the issue with the Knicks. Knocking on wood that this team stays healthy, but I agree. It should be nothing less than conference finals. I agree. Sterling said, to be fair to Thibs, he has never had a championship roster in other places. But you know what? I'll give him a little bit of credit in that regard, but now you do. Now you do. And like I said, he's always went to coach teams that have been not good and have made them better and made them championship contending, playoff contending teams. But he has the roster makeup to get a championship.
Yeah, he does. Oh, so OG cannot guard fast guys. No, I beg to differ because he does, but for me, it's in other ways. Like, he can, alter. He hustles back, and where I've seen where he's hustled back and he's done a block from behind or just alter guy shots. I mean, I think he's just intangible what he does. Whether it's the one to the five. So it's just other ways that he does. That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I say I think OG he makes up for his lack of offensive presence. He makes up for it on the defensive end. And yeah, some guys are a lot quicker than OG, but I still think that he holds it down defensively for us. So, you know. Um, but yeah, the Knicks play tomorrow. This is the second of a back to back against Washington. They play tomorrow at 7. They play again Wednesday. They play Utah. Then they play on Friday against OKC. And then they play on Saturday against Chicago. So once again, they play tomorrow against Washington, Wednesday against Utah, Friday against OKC, and then next Saturday against Chicago. What are your predictions for this week's games?
Um, I, I'm definitely looking for them just to take that, you know, this their third take Washington because they lost to Washington. I think it was in the preseason or whatever, early October. So of course, Washington's gonna come out look for some revenge. They're gonna try to mimic the same thing, and they're gonna alter some things. But they're young. They like to come out fast, play up tempo. They have their two main guys out Poole and what's the other guy? Kuzma. So, they like again, they got these young guys who's looking to prove themselves, make a name, get out there. They're gonna try to, avenge that loss. Which was an overtime, and that was their first overtime, game for the Knicks for this season. But I think that the Knicks got their number. And you got to realize that was a back to back that they was coming off. They didn't arrive into DC till like way after midnight, so they get a chance to rest today. Definitely have some fresh legs. I see them taking that game. Utah, this would be a nice revenge game for them because they did lose to Utah back in I
Whichever
think
one.
November.
Yeah,
So this is a nice revenge game for them to take because let's face it, they are a better team than Utah. Um, yeah, they should have won that. OKC, I think, is probably about the only team that can may give them more of a problem, but they did lose to Milwaukee in the cup. So I think the Knicks just gotta just play smart. They know what iHeart's gonna do and what's his primary role. He's balling out there, but that's a winnable game. But that's probably gonna be about the only game that I can see them having any type of problems with. Yeah, they lost to the and you said they played
Chicago.
Chicago, right? Well, yeah. Yeah, they did lose to them, but this is a nice game that for them to take. Levine is, back to balling. There's got just, those guys like Levine, Kobe, they have to, those guys they have to contain. But I have them, although, I hate to bet against my Knicks, but I'm still gonna go 4-0 with them. What I do 3-1 with OKC being the only one, but me as a diehard, I'm still going 4-0.
Yeah, I've got them 3-1. I think OKC is gonna be the team that gives the Knicks problems. But my only thing with this is that, we talk about teams like Washington, Utah, Chicago. These are teams that the Knicks should be beating. And then, you know, these are sometimes the teams that end up getting that sneaky win over the Knicks because the Knicks have an off night or just the defense wasn't that good. The effort wasn't that good. They looked a little tired or a step or two too slow. So the Knicks can't afford to have that. Like, you got to find a way to continue to beat the teams that you should be beating, and those teams that are better in the standings, like your OKC, you got to figure out how to beat those challenging teams as well. So, you know, to me, you shouldn't be dropping a game tomorrow against Washington. You shouldn't be losing to Utah. You lost to them in Utah, and I really wanted the Knicks to win that game. I was so upset that they lost that game in Utah. And then when you play against Chicago, who's a team who Chicago for some reason gives the Knicks problems. Just like, it's certain teams I notice when the Knicks play, the game seems to be quite close. Same thing with Detroit. When the Knicks play the Raptors, it's always, you got to figure out how to beat Atlanta. These are teams you got to figure out how to beat. So I don't want to see the Knicks slip up and allow those teams, that you should be beating to win against, beat them. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go with 3-1. I I really pray that the Knicks are pulling out these wins against these other teams. I don't want to see them trucking up any losses to Washington and Utah, who can't even figure out how to get a win. Like, you gotta beat those teams. You have to beat those
And
teams.
and it
Um,
definitely be nice for them to close out that, yeah, that Washington game. Yeah,
oh
like I was
yeah,
saying,
for
it'd definitely
sure.
be nice for them to close out that Washington game because I think this should be their 14th game for the month. And if they do, and then when they win, they'll be like, what's that, 12-2. So that's a nice way to close out the year. Just as a FYI.
Exactly. Salute to Ron. That's still Knicks fans, Ron and John. He said, "What's good, Knicks family? Salute to the chat. Salute to Lady and the Chef and D Blocks. Let's go Knicks. Let's keep this streak going." Absolutely, Ron. I agree. The Knicks
Yes,
can keep this streak going. They just have to continue to find a way to beat these teams that they should be beating. And those teams that are a bit more of a challenge for them, they got to figure out how to beat those teams as well. So I believe in these guys. The Knicks are finding their identity. They're figuring out how to play a lot better together. They're looking a lot more comfortable. And when they play OKC, don't let Isaiah Hartenstein embarrass you.
yeah, yeah.
Don't let Isaiah Hartenstein embarrass you, because he's going to be throwing all the passes in the world that he wants to pass. And I'm going to tell you something, that Carl Anthony has to figure out how to stop fouling. He looks like he
Yeah,
has Jericho Sims condition.
yeah, he definitely has to figure that out, man.
You have to stop fouling because you're going on the bench so early, and now Thibs has to sit you down
Yeah,
because you can't
he's
even.
he's a huge part of offense.
Yeah, yeah. So, Nostalgic Nick said, "Let all the rookies and bench play starting next game." I don't know if Tibbs is going to do that. The Knicks will have to be up most of the game, and maybe with 5 minutes left in the fourth, and then he'll play them. So I'm not sure if he'll do that, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, 3-1. I got them for this week rather. The Knicks are now 22-10. They're third in the East. So Boston just has one win over them. They're 23-8. The Knicks are 22-10. And then Orlando sitting in fourth at 19-14. And so far, the Knicks and Cleveland have the longest win streaks in the East. So that says a lot. That says a lot. Only thing is too is that even though the Knicks haven't been going 3-point, 3-shot crazy, this still is a high scoring game, 136 to 132.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see. But yeah, I see the Knicks keeping up this win streak, and I want them to pull away from a little bit more from Orlando,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
Paolo is going to be coming back very soon, and once he comes back, Orlando is going to be that team that a lot of teams are not going to want to play, because they did pretty good last year, Orlando.
Oh yeah,
So
he
they're
supposed
trying to
to.
get better this year as well too, like a Knicks team
Yeah.
as well. So, um, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this Knicks team. John, you heard him. He said, let's get those likes and subscribers up for these ladies running this panel, keeping women's basketball minds and perfect perception of basketball knowledge. Your reporting is a breath of fresh air. I appreciate that. Yeah, the Knicks do have a cushion for now. I want them to keep that cushion, though, in the win standing. Still, Knicks fans said that's a fact, but iHeart is going to get busy against the Knicks. However, he will have his hands full against Cat. He is not the best defender against elite bigs. That is true. We saw what happened to iHeart last year in round one. He was no answer against Joel Embiid. If it wasn't for Mitchell Robinson, I'm not sure, and OG
Yeah.
Anunoby, because they were the only two that was able to stop Joel Embiid last year in round one. Isaiah Hartenstein. And what's funny? Soon as we put Mitch in, Embiid had to think twice about whatever move he was gonna do.
Yeah,
And
that's why he
he
did
just
the
going
dirty
straight
play.
forward. Yeah. But when he was going against iHeart, he was like, yeah, he can't guard me. But I think my only thing, Ron, is Cat has to not get in foul trouble so early. He can't afford to get in foul trouble early, because if he do they have home green? Chet is playing? Is he home?
No, he's still
Oh,
out. No.
okay. So, well, still, it doesn't matter. They still have enough pieces to take it against the Knicks. So, and I'm gonna need Precious to just be a little bit more aggressive as well.
That's what I was about to say, and they have Precious. So, and even Precious, he did a pretty decent job on Embiid. So,
Yeah, he did. He did. He actually made some stops. It was a lot of what he did defensively. It didn't show up in the replays last year and on the stat sheet, but he did make a difference. So, you know, um, that's going to be a very good game to watch. And Precious had that nice slam dunk last night.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely hoping they'll get out to a better start.
Yeah, they got to come out quicker for sure, a lot faster. And then we'll see what the Knicks do defensively. I'm looking for them. I just don't want the Knicks also to fall back into bad habits. I like that they're not chucking up a bunch of threes. I don't think you need to do that, because what game was that? I think it was the Christmas game, and the Knicks were off, and it was Mikel that was the only one that had the hot hand.
Yep.
Everybody else thought, well, I'm gonna keep shooting, and no one was driving. And Brunson is a lot more successful when he drives. When he gets the footwork going and he drives and imposes his will, he's a lot more successful. So Eddie said he has the Knicks 3-1. Yeah, exactly. 132 points is way too many. That's why I said that's way too many points. Like, yeah, you won, and the Knicks barely won that game. Just like the Spurs game, they barely won it. A win is a win, yes, but you barely won that. Nostalgic said I'm flipping Precious and Sims 8 million total. I mean, both of them, both teams, I can see them wanting both Precious and Jericho. But the problem is that when the Knicks do these trades, Is a team going to want to take both Precious and Sims and not a guard as well? You know, most teams, they want to squeeze as much as they can out of the Knicks. And I don't know if that's going to be enough, that they're going to be like, okay, yeah, we'll take these two and give you so and so. And whoever they're getting, is it enough? We don't want to just take anybody just because they're tall or they can give you some rebounds. Like, no. OKC is the real test. Absolutely. OKC is going to be a huge test. And I don't think the Knicks have been fully like tested as of yet, like to the fullest degree of test that they can have yet. Remember the run the Knicks put on last year right after Christmas? We was like 13-2. I expect that's what's going to happen again. This team is ready to make a serious run and respect our road record. Yeah, and I think that's important that the Knicks have to prove that they can win on the road as well. Like protect home court, but also be a good road team as well. Yeah, OKC is definitely the real deal. They're not the number one team in the West for a reason, for any old reason.
Yeah.
David Smith, salute, said Knicks 3-point defense was atrocious against a terrible 3-point shooting, tanking lottery team, missing their best player. And that's something that the Knicks have to work on. Their perimeter defense is awful. It's a hot mess. And that's something that the Knicks really have to tighten up on before you get to the playoffs. You have to. Because if not, teams are just going to shoot all willy-nilly against you. Embiid did Mitch dirty. He did. Because he got angry. He's a big baby, Embiid. Can you read that one?
Yeah, it says, I'll be honest. I love how good this Knicks team is getting, but they still have work to do for sure. And I don't think they are quite ready to beat OKC, considering how we have played against similar teams. Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, that's why I said OKC, they're a young team and they're not sitting at number one for a reason. Um, they their core group of guys are back with the exception of iHeart, which bolstered their their front court, and then they added Caruso. So I mean, they they did lose to Milwaukee, and which we got Milwaukee's number for the most part. But I mean, this is a winnable game, but that's the only one that I had to question mark with. But I'm still going 4-0, with the Knicks. And these are the teams that they have to prove that. So, how they say OKC is legit, then this is the conversation the Knicks need to be in. The Knicks are legit. You know how people feel about OKC in Boston and Cleveland. This is what we got to say about the Knicks, because these are the teams they have to beat. The OKCs, even Houston's balling, Boston, Cleveland. When you beat teams like that, then people, and it's not even the fans, because that's fans we believe, but it's the sportcasters and the naysayers, that just for whatever reason still have the Knicks at the bottom tier. But if they could beat OKC, I then there's definitely be more of a conversation. It's- That's right, Ron. He goes, I'm with you, Diva Locks. I'm picking them to win, but the Knicks have to come out, yeah, the gate, guns. But yeah, I agree. They definitely have to, they come out with these slow starts, and that's the only thing I hate about, how they start. But it's not how, like they say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But yeah, I agree. They have to come out, that high intensity and to be that more aggressive team. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that I agree with Ron as well. My biggest thing with this Knicks team is we know what this Knicks team can do offensively. This Knicks team have to figure out how to be better defensively and how to figure out a way to stop the slow starts, but figure out how to beat teams when you're playing a team like Utah that you couldn't beat, Dallas that you couldn't beat, Atlanta that you couldn't beat, Detroit that you couldn't beat. When you can't figure out how to in live game situations, and you can't figure out how to come together and beat these teams, that's a problem. And then as a team, you're going to be questioned on whether or not you're legit or not. But when you're playing and you got SGA and he's balling out and he's doing whatever he wants to do on the floor, and you allowing teams to shoot all willy-nilly from the 3-point line, and you're not guarding them and you're not contending them, and you lost defensively and there's no communication amongst players, that's a problem. That's a problem. So this Knicks team, to me, they have to find a better balance. Like, I feel like this team is still not balanced yet. I feel like offensively they're here, but the defense is like here. And they have to tighten it up so that they're a better, stronger unit as a team. And right now they're not. And what I've noticed so far with the wins is that sometimes it's going to take one or two guys who's going to have to be, who's going to get us over the hump. And I agree with J-Boogie. If you're going to score 55, Jalen Brunson, or you're going to, score that many points, whether it's him, Mikal, whether it's Carl Anthony, it's OG, and you're going to give us 40 plus 45, 50 points, at least make it so that we win. I don't want you to score those points and we lose. You did all of that for nothing. But I think that you look at a lot of these wins, again, a win is a win, but the Knicks also barely scraped those wins by. Barely got those wins out of these teams. Let's be honest. You didn't blow all of these teams out. You won by 3-4 points. Last night came down to an OT. And again, I'll take the gritty, the tough, hard wins. I'm all for that. But what I'm saying is that you allowed them also to score 132 points. So you have to work on your defense and become better defensively. Your defense isn't strong enough there yet where you can truly be contenders in any game. I don't care if you're playing New Orleans, you're playing Washington. You got to be able to contend and give these teams everything you got defensively. Without fouling, without playing dirty. You could play gritty, tough New York basketball, but you have to be able to play a lot stronger defensively. You have to give up. I want to see a better, consistent, concerted effort on a night in, night out basis when you're playing teams, whether it's teams you're better than or the teams that are in good standings like you, who are legit contenders. So if your defense doesn't step up, then when you get to the playoffs, how are you going to get past round 1 and 2? It's going to be a struggle, even with a healthy team. It's going to be a struggle. So I don't know. I think that this Knicks team has to really prove that they can be a stronger contender defensively and that we can get key stops in a game. Not just the hustle plays you see from Josh Hart or OG. I'm talking about collectively as a team. Like, you're not constantly running out to the 3-point line when it's too late because a guy has a bunch of space. Contending shots. Boxing out. Making sure you're at the line when teams are swinging the ball around. You got a guy that's there, ready to guard. Whether he's at the shortest end of the 3-point line, the top of the key, someone's cutting, you guys are moving, you're talking to each other. I want to see a better effort defensively when it comes to that. The offense, there's no issue. We're not worried about the offense. It's the defense that's going to help you at the end of the day also win games. So I don't know. We'll see what David Smith said. How does Cat only get 19 attempts yesterday when he was cooking with 68% from the field goal and Bridges only got 14 attempts compared to Brunson getting 31 attempts yesterday? Well, because Cat gets in foul trouble. So he lost time trying to cook more when he's sitting down on the bench. And Brunson had the ball in his hand majority of the night. He had the hot hand.
Yeah.
So you feel like Brunson should have facilitated the ball more? Because sometimes, a player's going to do what they need to do to make sure that the team wins. And not saying if you would have gave the ball to Cat or Bridges, they wouldn't have been able to make it. I absolutely think they would have been able to do their thing, but I just think Brunson, you know, like when Bridges had the hot hand on Christmas Day, just keep passing it to him. I felt like Brunson said, I'm just going to take over and do what we need to do so we can get this win. No, Cat wasn't in foul trouble, but I just think that Brunson felt like he was going to take over. I didn't see anybody look like they was complaining on the Knicks. Listen, if the ball's going through the hoop, I'm happy. I'm ready to go back down the other end of the floor and go play defense. So,
And I was saying Brunson, like they was playing him differently. So he saw where they really wasn't D'ing him up. So he seized that opportunity.
yeah.
And
And he
let's
got the
face it.
mismatch a few times when Josh was
Yeah,
setting the
yeah.
screen. He was getting the
So
player that he wanted on him. So
yeah.
Brunson knows that those guys are no match for him either. They were playing on him one on one. But when Brunson knows he could cook and get past the guy, he's going to keep. Because if you notice, he was doing the same move in the paint, getting the little floater off, and they couldn't stop it. So if a team's not stopping you from doing the same move, you're going to keep doing just that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it did prolong the game a little bit. Maybe Brunson, and that is something that I said Brunson needs to work on with facilitating the ball. But if he has the hot hand, and I think the awareness this season when we notice who has the hot hand, then you got to keep letting that guy cook. I think this season I haven't seen Brunson do it much. There's probably been like 2 games where he did play a little bit of hero ball, and I thought he should have been more of a facilitator. But, if he has the hot
No,
hand, go ahead.
I saw it in the beginning of the season where he
Mhm.
was playing the hero ball and where that trust factor wasn't there. Because that's perhaps, I mean, not that that was doing part to Mikal, a slow start, but again, I guess he's figuring, well, I'm not gonna come in and and step on any toes or whatever. But he did it in the beginning, where he was playing the hero ball, and again, the beginning of the season. But again, as they played along, the trust was there. There was gelling more. So, and yesterday was kind of one of those games where the hero and the ISO a little bit too much, but again, he took over when it was necessary. I mean, and quite frankly, you know, those guys, even yeah, Josh might have had a double double. OG struggle. Was it due to them, the back to back and just getting in late? Perhaps, but he caught a second win and he willed them to the victory. So for that, my hats off to him.
Yeah. I also think Brunson has a lot more trust in this roster lineup than last
Oh, for
year.
sure.
because I feel like last year, um, Brunson, yeah, he passed the ball, but I feel like this year he feels a lot more comfortable passing it off to Cat, giving it to OG, giving it to Mikal. You know what I mean? Like giving it to Hart. So I think there's more of a trust factor in who he's
Yeah.
going to dish the ball off to and give the guys the ball. But do I think that sometimes it is a little bit of hero ball? Yeah. And it was a little bit of that yesterday too. But listen, I
But
think he just was like, I'm not going to allow us to lose this game.
John McDonough, Brunson's mid-range game is unstoppable. His crafty moves and his IQ's impeccable. Yep, right now nobody in the NBA playing point guard like Brunson. He is an assassin. Y'all lucky he did. Yeah, 65. That's true. Yeah.
He's not six
Mhm.
five.
6'5". He ain't 6'5". Oh
Yeah.
yeah, y'all lucky he's not 6'5". True.
Yeah.
Sterling Smith. At the end of the day, this team has enough firepower that it really should not matter who scores. I agree.
Yeah. Exactly. It's about who could get the job done. Like if other guys are off and it takes one or two guys to get it done, listen, a win is a win. Sometimes it may look a little hero ballish or ball hoggish, but if it's gonna get us to get a win, then we'll take it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like Diva Lock said, Monday, Washington's definitely gonna be looking to try to shut down the Knicks. But I'm looking for a fast start. Because that game was definitely fast paced yesterday. So I'm looking for the Knicks to start off quickly and to you know be aggressive in the paint. I don't want to see a ton of 3-point shots. I mean, I don't mind seeing them, and I know that's something that Thibs wants this season is a lot of threes. But I want to see guys capitalize on getting other teams in foul trouble, and I want Cat to watch the fouls that he's you know causing. And yeah, I just want to see guys cut into the basket more too as well, and utilizing the high pick and roll with Cat and Brunson. And yeah, and then I'm definitely going to be looking out for that OKC game on what's that, Friday? The Knicks to be playing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, Friday. So we'll see. Um, anything else from you before we get out of here?
No, nope. Let's go Knicks. You know my mantra.
Yeah, so we got the Knicks. We both got them 3-1. We'll see what the Knicks do. Um, I should be back on tomorrow. I know I was sick last week, but I definitely should be on tomorrow with the Queen's Court, with Steph, Jeff Clapper, and Tony Crow. Shout out to them. That'll be the Knicks play tomorrow. So I'm not sure if maybe we'll go on at 6, being that the Knicks play at 7. I'm not sure what time we'll go on. So look out for that. And then we'll be back on Thursday to do a recap plus a pregame to Friday's game against OKC. And what else? Yeah, it'll be like the new year after that for us. So happy new year to everybody. We hope everybody's having a great holiday season. I hope you all have a beautiful, safe week. And hit the like button before you get out of here. Shout out to everybody in the chat as well as the replay gang for you guys joining us this Sunday. Shout out to J-Boogie who joined us earlier, Sterling Smith, Nostalgic Nick, Kareem Grant, Wonder Woman, Daraz, always joining us as well. Chris Rowe, Parish Duggar. Parish Duggar was kind of quiet today. Rondu1973, Eddie C for joining us as well. Nostalgic Nick, if I didn't say your name already. AP, John McDonald, David Smith, Nick Yak, and I think that's it. I think
You
that's
did
it.
Rondo, a Negro.
I said Rondo, a Negro one. Still Knicks fan. Shout out to Ron and John. And yeah, now I think that's it. And shout out to those of you who are not in the chat but you're watching live and the replay gang as well. Shout out to you all. Do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and look out for us on Thursday. And then check us out tomorrow if we're on the Queens Court. And we'll see you all Thursday. Lots of Knicks games coming up, so lots to talk about. And yeah, we'll be keeping track of any trade talk as well. And yeah, I think that's it for us today.
What trade talk within the Knicks? Because there was a trade, but it wasn't without Knicks.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Trade talk within the Knicks for sure. If anything's going on, we'll be watching out for that. And yeah, until next time, everybody have a great week. See you all next time.